Is the limiting factor the size of your facilities and stuff like that?
Yeah, the case is that for the phase 2, we got 25 million from the government. I mean funding, 25 million Hong Kong dollar from the government. And then we aim to incubate 55 companies.
In a year, or
no,
at any given time?
The whole project, whole project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So once we meet this target, that means our resources, financial resources, are more or less, okay. Unless we get further funding from the government. Otherwise, this 25 million is more or less enough to incubate, this accommodate the list of these 55 companies. But for 55 companies, some of them are offsite, some of them are on-site.
Any successful stories of your program, successful case?
Yes. That's just like the case I mentioned to you, Feng Shu. They're pretty good. I mean, to using the 3D technology to build the community, the virtual community for the ladies who love certain lifestyle and all the fashion, and then they get eventually they get the investment from Skybe's founder. I think it's a really good achievement. And also I mentioned to you, we have so far the incubator have run more than 40 industries award. It's also a recognition from the industries, that they're doing pretty good, so that they can get this award. Yeah. But I mean, for any startup, it's not easy. For any startup, I can tell you, based on statistics, most SME cannot survive more than 3 years. I think 75% or 70%. But in our case, the success rate of our incubator is 85%. That means 85% of the incubated company can successfully graduate. But of course, after that, whether they can sustain, really, I cannot guarantee, But at least they have laid down a more solid foundation for the sustainability.
Do you have any preference to when you actually admit the big company? Do you have any preference whether they are locally?
No preference. No preference. No preference. I mean, actually, they can be Indians, or they can be Malaysian, or the local Chinese, or mainland Chinese. No, we don't have any preference. So long as the company registered in Hong Kong.
And the solution or product can be launched overseas, right? I mean, does not have to be in Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, sure. Because actually, many of our company, like in 3 months ago, we just admitted a company who are doing online game, and they launched the game through over the Facebook platform, and have 300,000 users just in 3 months. Actually, many of our incubators, target at not just Hong Kong, because Hong Kong market is pretty small. They target the overseas market, particularly Europe and US market. Of course, and some incubators are very focused on the China market. The China market and international market really quite different.
A question around, I guess I came from a previous presentation where they were doing a kind of incubation fund as well. For a smaller amount.
That is different. That is a cyberport creative fund. That is a more short-term basis. Say you have application ready to market in 3 or 6 months.
I see.
And then you can apply that. And both low conflict. You can, on one hand, you can apply the incubation, this 2-year incubation program. Right. On the other hand, you can apply that creative fund.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you could apply two different prototype ideas to each fund.
Yeah. Right. But of course, for us, our focus is different, because we will consider you as a company, so that we will consider whether you can sustain your business. Is it 2 years, 3 years?
Right.
But for that, they just focus on your application, your product service, whether it is creative enough, things like that, can be ready to market in 3 or 6 months.
I see.
It's different.
And is there any expectation of a working prototype? or at what stage? Can it be at the idea stage, or is there a bit of proof, a little bit of success with the idea?
Then you have to go back to ask the Henry or I mean the guy.
Well, I'm here, I can answer that. There's no expectation. Well, I'm not Henry O, but I know enough. There's no expectation of that. If you have a prototype, it might help.
Okay.
If you have an idea and your idea is deployable within like a limited, very rapid time frame of like 3 to 4 months, then it is still possible.
Right. Okay.
You have a question.
Yeah, so you have accepted 72, 40 have graduated, right?
Yeah.
And you said there are 21 that are still in progress.
Oh, some because they withdraw from the program.
Okay, so about 11, either they didn't pass the committee or they just withdrew or something, right?
As I said, we have to monitor closely. I mean, the business program. Some cannot, because for different reason, they cannot, meet the milestone, and so then in this case, they might withdraw voluntarily, or we report to the subcommittee, and then we ask them.
No. So I get that. So I just wanted to feel that it's a pretty low failure rate, and that those that do then mature, they have a high success rate at 85%. So it seems like it's a super program. Probably want to help people here, because I'm certain everybody sees the pros in joining this program. Is getting a sense for how many applications you get. So if you get like those 72 that did get through, how many applications did you get for that 72 that you accepted?
I mentioned so far as of June this year, we have received 139 applications.
And you have 55 slots?
139, yeah.
And you have about 50, 55 slots to fill, is it?
And 40 successfully graduates, and 21 that incubated in progress.
I got that. So, but for those that submit and go through the pain of getting everything ready to submit by September 30th, you now have about how many? My understanding is you've got 25 million, and you can fund, you think, about 50 to 55 companies, right? So,
but actually, we don't really have. I think we don't really have the quota. I mean, because the vetting committee, if you are, I mean, if they feel if the evaluation of the applicant overall is positive, and then they will give a favorable vote. They don't think because we have certain quota, so we just admit 5 or 7. No, they don't think that way. Because based on this criteria, if you are good, then they will give a favorable vote. Say you.